Welcome to Vegan Finds. So tonight's edition of Takeout Dinners, we are going to be making crab rangoon and pork dumplings, fried pork dumplings. So in order for us to do that, we need to make the dumpling wrappers. So we're going to be making a gluten-free wonton-esque wrapper. We're going to be using let's see if I can get that all the way into the photo here. Okay, Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1. So, we're going to start out by adding 5.5 cups of flour to our bowl. Okay, so to this I'm adding 3 tablespoons of potato starch. 1, 2, 3. I'm adding 3 teaspoons of xanthan gum. This is for extra binding. I believe that the Bob's Red Mill already has some xanthan gum in there, but this is a big batch of stuff, so better to be safe than sorry. You don't want the dough to fall apart when you're cooking it. So I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to start on adding the liquid to our mix here. Here goes my sea salt. That's 1 teaspoon. And now it's time for the wet ingredients. So we're going to be adding the equivalent of 3 vegan eggs, some hot water, and that's it. Okay, so before I add the egg portion of our baking our ingredients, I'm going to whisk up all of our ingredients to make sure that they're going to get well incorporated. So I'm going to make a well in the middle here with the spatula. Actually, I'm going to just use that. Look at that. Well, I don't have to get my hands all dirty. As many of you may have heard, I don't really like to touch things and get my fingers all dirty. I don't know why. Something as from my days as a young man, young kid. Okay, so I've whisked our dry ingredients and I've made a well. I'm going to be adding some of our vegan egg to this right now, and I'm going to fold it in with a spatula. Okay, so in's going the vegan egg. Trying to get the very last of it. And now I'm going to start mixing it in. And I'm using Follow Your Heart's vegan egg, and it smells just like an egg. I mean, it smells like just like an egg would. So it's actually a little overwhelming. So I'm going to mix this in for a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit crumbly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 cup of water, and we're going to keep a little hot water, and it's got to be hot water. So we're going to add 1 cup of water to this, and we'll see where we stand. If we need more water, we'll add more water. But again, we're going to make a little well for our water and then start incorporating that as well. Just so you can see the well, it's a little bit hard because it's just such a bright white color. But it's in there. You'll see it when I pour the water in. Okay, so I'm going to add my hot water to the well here. I'm going to hold back about a 1/4 cup. Alright, looks like about a 1/4. And I'm going to start incorporating the water into our dough here. And if the dough is still not coming together, add more water. I mean, there's a lot of flour in here. Could have used a bigger bowl, no question. And the dough should not be dry and should not be too sticky as well. I know I'm going to have to get my hands in here at some point. That much I do know. So we shall see what we shall see. I'm going to start kneading this together with my hands. I don't think you guys need to see that part. And I'll be back to show you what the dough looks like when it comes together. If I make any additions, I'll let you know that I've done so. Okay, so there you have it. This is actually slightly more than half of the dough that I've kneaded together. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to split the dough into two. This is hard work. I added actually an extra full cup of water to this. It could be because I added the extra xanthan gum. I'm not 100% sure. I have not made this recipe before, so this is my test run. And we're going to see if we can actually make dumplings out of this. The dough is nice and it's holding together real nice. And now we're going to let it rest for half an hour. And while that's resting, I'm going to start making the filling for the crab rangoon and the pork dumplings. So I'll be back in a moment with those ingredients and show you how to make that. Hi, and welcome back. I'm making the stuffing for the crab rangoon, which goes into a wonton wrapper that's then deep fried. In order to do that, I'm going to be using artichoke hearts as the crab stuffing. And if you're not familiar with crab rangoon, it's basically like crab dip wrapped in a wonton wrapper. Really, really super tasty. Obviously, this is the vegan version. And if you've seen me do the crab cakes before, you'll see on the artichoke hearts that you get in a jar, there's a really thick layer of leaves. Those are the outer layers that they leave on. You want to take those off. You can eat them. I usually pick them off and eat them while I'm making this. So you can. I just wanted to see this is how thick it is compared to the other pieces, which are much thinner. And you'll see they're always on the outer edge. So you want to peel those off before slicing up your artichokes. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to chop up the artichokes. For our cream cheese base, we're using tofutti cream cheese. We find that this works really well. There are other vegan cream cheeses out there, Viola Life, and I think Trader Joe's even has one. They're all relatively good. We happen to like this one better than some of the others for baking items. So I'm going to take care of the artichokes. I'll be back and show you how to put all these ingredients together. The other thing I'm going to mention is that in my recipe I'm going to talk about using kelp or dashi powder for this, but I'm not actually going to use it because Doris doesn't really like the taste of seafood. She's allergic, so that's a problem for her right from the get-go. So rather than try and accidentally trigger her into thinking that there's seafood in here, I'm going to just omit that. I'm going to use Old Bay instead. So it's going to be a slight deviation from the normal recipe. I'll put both versions down so you can see and decide for yourself. You know, some of the kelp flakes can be rather pungent, and you know, if you're used to crab, I would say just go with some Old Bay and do it that way. And you know, basically make the recipe your own. So I'll be back in a moment. I'm going to chop these up and I'll show you how to put the filling together while we waiting for our dough to rest. Okay, so before I actually start mixing the filling, I just want to show you how to slice these because you really want to get the feel of crabs. So you're going to want to slice them really thin, lengthwise. And for the hearts that are on the ends here, this little piece, if you can cut that off to kind of give it that lump crab feel to it. Changes up the texture a little bit, but the leaves definitely slice on the vertical. The hearts you can just cut up a little bit just to change the textures within the dish a little bit. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to get the rest of the ingredients and put the filling together for item number 1. Okay, so I got my artichokes all chopped up. I'm adding a teaspoon of sesame oil to this. I'm adding a teaspoon of tamari. You can use soy sauce, you can use coconut aminos, whatever you have on hand. This is going to add a little salty kick to it. I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of, it's probably closer to a tablespoon of scallions. And now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of Old Bay seasoning. So I got 1 teaspoon, 2, 3. 3 teaspoons makes a tablespoon, in case you didn't know that. But if you've watched any of our other videos, you'll find out that we often run out of the tablespoon measure far sooner than we do the teaspoon measure. So now I'm going to add the cream cheese to this, and I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to taste it and then adjust for the seasonings and see if we need any more, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is an 8-ounce container of the cream cheese, the tofutti cream cheese, which obviously has no cream, no cheese. And basically, just kind of mix it through. It smells real good. And there we have it. That's your filling for the crab rangoon. I'm going to give it a little taste just to see what it tastes like. I'm not going to stick it in my mouth. Don't worry. Spatula's right there. Oh, that's good. Ooh, that's really good. That's going to taste delicious. So, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to start making our little wonton wrappers. But first, I'm going to make the pork filling as well. So the base of our pork filling is going to be this pure farmland, plant-based protein starters. So I'm going to season this up the way I would season up the pork filling. I'm going to do ginger, scallions, garlic, saute this up and in some sesame oil. And that's going to be the basis of our filling for our stuffed dumplings. So I'll be back and we'll show you how to put this together. Okay, so I've placed the protein into the bowl. I'm adding 1 scallion that's been chopped. I'm going to add about, I would say, a 1/4 cup of some chopped Napa cabbage to this, and now I'm going to add some minced ginger. I'm adding 2 teaspoons of minced ginger. That's the second one. And then I'm going to add some garlic powder, about 1 teaspoon. I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Then I'm going to add a tablespoon of tamari. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to blend this all together, see how it tastes, and then if I need to make adjustments, I will. I didn't have to make any adjustments to the crab rangoon, and as many of you know, this is the part I hate the most. Smells good. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a little teaspoon of sesame oil to this as well, just to give it a little more traditional flavor. There we go. Put in a teaspoon of sesame oil. And that's basically it. I'm going to fry a little bit of this up just to taste it. And if it tastes good, I'm going to go with it. Again, you notice I'm not adding any salt because with tamari and some of the other ingredients, they're already salty. So adding salt upon salt, at least on the inside, to me is a bad idea. If the crab rangoon doesn't taste quite, seasoned enough, I can always salt the outside. So that's how I view things. I'm going to test this out, and I'll be back showing you how to make the actual wrappers. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken half of the dough that's rested, and I'm just now rolling it out with our rolling pin. And you want to get this fairly thin. Now, if you have a pasta machine, that is going to work way better than a rolling pin. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And you can see that this dough is pretty strong. Took a lot of work to get it to this point. Let me tell you, if you did these every day, you're going to have arms of steel. That much I can tell you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this out to, I don't know, about 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to fold it over and roll it out again. I put some cornstarch down. You can use potato starch. You could use any kind of starch you want, just so the dough doesn't stick to the surface that we're working on here. And this is a surprisingly strong dough. I'm going to fold it now because I want to kind of get into a rectangle shape, if at all humanly possible. And basically, I'm going to use that to cut my squares. So, we're just going to keep rolling it out till we get it to, I would say, at least around 1/8 of an inch. If it's a little bit thicker, that's okay too. On the pasta machine setting, you're going to want to do it at like the 3rd lowest setting. You don't want it to be the lowest because it'll be too thin and it'll break. So I'm going to keep doing this, and then I'll show you how to cut this up into wrappers. Okay, so I made my sheet of dough into a square. I used a handy dandy pizza cutter to do it. So now I'm just going to start cutting up the dough into squares to make the wonton wrappers. I'm going to try and eyeball this. Doing a horrible job, but yeah, it's cheap labor. Okay, so we got our wrappers set. This one's going to need a little repair work. And you could see they're pretty thin. And it's time to start stuffing these suckers up, getting them ready to be cooked. So I'm going to start with the crab rangoon, and then I'm going to move to the pork dumplings. See, she took just a little taste of the filling, and you already heard what she just said. She likes it. So if Doris likes it, everybody's going to like it because she's like Mikey. So
Well, that's fair. No, that's fair.
You want to obviously not overfill these dumplings. You're going to take a little water. You're going to seal the edge, because the last thing you want is for these things to burst while frying them, because that's just going to make a big old mess. I'm just going to fold this over a little bit just for added security purposes. And you're just going to keep going until you're done. That's basically how I do it. I stop filling when I'm done. So it's about I would say, half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon of filling. So I'm going to keep filling, and I'll be back to show you how to do the pork dumplings. Okay, so now we're going to make our pork dumplings. So we got to make the wrapper here. And basically, I'm going to just cut circles out from the dough here as best I can. And let's see how, using this as a guide. And basically, there you have it. So I'm going to cut my circles out and trim them up, and basically show you how to stuff a dumpling. Okay, so I've rolled out and cut my dumpling wrappers. And now basically, it's time to make the dumplings. So I'm actually going to use a really small, maybe like a nickel's worth. And you're going to want to dampen the edges. Hey, Tank, get over here. Come on, bud. So you're going to dampen the edges. And you're going to fold it over like so. Now you could kind of do a little pinch there. I'm no expert, but that's basically how you get to the dumpling. And what we're going to do to cook these is steam them first and then fry them. Okay, so I have steamed our dumplings. Now I've got a pan ready to go. I steamed them for probably about 2 minutes. The second batch went a lot faster than the first batch, and they're a little bit better cooked because I learned how to do it a little bit better, and that's all part of cooking. So now I'm gonna start frying these up, and I'm gonna make a dipping sauce. I'm gonna use some tamari. I'm not going to measure this out, but I'll give you some measurement guidelines. I'm going to add some tamari, like that. Some ginger, grated ginger paste. Now I would suggest you grate it fresh if you can. I don't have that time, so I'm using a jarred ginger paste. I'm going to do 2 healthy teaspoons. And then I'm going to add some garlic and some scallions and a little touch of sesame oil to this. So, just waiting for this pan to dry. Ooh, that's good. I'm going to skip using fresh garlic. I'm just going to use garlic powder. I'm being a little bit lazy with the ingredients, because I should have made the dough ahead of time. I did not, and that was a huge mistake. My little dog is looking at me like, when are you going to be finished cooking dinner so I can get some? I see you. I see you. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure the pan's coated. Feels pretty hot. And now we're going to just start. There we go. That's what you want to hear. You want that sizzle. We're going to add a little bit more. These pans tend to really warp, so everything kind of ends up towards the sides as opposed to in the center. Okay. And we're going to let these cook till they're browned on both sides. Since the filling is basically plant-based, you know, you don't have to really worry too much. It'll be cooked through because from the steaming. So we should be all set. Won't take too long, and I will show you what the finished product looks like in a moment. Okay, I just wanted you to see that the Potstickers have gotten a nice golden brown color to them. They are done. They're ready to go. I'm going to plate them up right now. Alright, so our oil is ready to start frying the crab Rangoon. I'm just going to drop them in. My big dog is ready for them. And normally I would use a deeper pot, but I didn't feel like fishing one out. You want these nice and crispy and starting to bubble up, like the way this guy is. So I'm going to get a paper towel. I'm going to get so I can drain these guys off as they come out. Give them a turn. I'll be right back. Okay, so since the oil is hot and I don't feel like switching pans, I'm just going to drop the other dumplings in here for a real quick fry. So that's another way you can cook them. You don't have to pan fry them. You can actually deep fry these suckers. Yeah, it's only going to take a minute. The crab Rangoon is done. I'm going to plate that up so you can see how that looks. And we're going to go from there. Okay, so we got the crab Rangoon on this side, the Potstickers on this side. We got some sweet Thai chili sauce just straight from the jar. And the tamari ginger paste, scallions, sesame oil, garlic powder sauce on this side. I'm going to take a bite after I just take a quick photo for my own personal edification. So if you like these recipes and you want to see more, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and let us know what you think. I can tell you that these are absolutely delicious. Ate a couple already, obviously, because I'm not going to wait. And so I'm certainly not going to wait for you to make them. One quick note, when you're rolling out that dough, if you're doing it by hand, you got to roll it thin. These are a little bit too thick. I would say maybe like a dime width in thinness. Obviously, it's going to be much easier with the pasta machine. If you could do it with a pasta machine, great. If you don't have a pasta machine, don't worry. You can do it with a rolling pin. You saw me do it. It's not easy. That dough it's going to work your arms like any kind of, like you were doing bicep curls all day. So once again, please subscribe and let us know what you think.